Today we have a treat. You guys have been listening to me go on each week talking about current news, events, training, and it's just you and me. But sometimes it's nice to have somebody else come onto the podcast and share their experiences and their knowledge and things that I'm not so knowledgeable on. I love learning about people's lives. I love learning about different experiences that people go through, and that's what we are doing today. Today we're talking to Greta Zukoff, who is a transformational coach, and we are going to talk about trauma, overcoming trauma. We are going to talk about the feminine personality that all women possess, as well as the masculine personality and aura that we all possess, and how to create balance among the two. Because as I was talking to Greta, I've come to realize that I am a little bit more masculine when it comes to my energy, and I feel like it's kind of just because of social norms and what's expected out of us, or at least what has become expected out of me going back from childhood. So it's kind of like this eye-opening experience that I think a lot of us are going to get some benefit from. I think that you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. And if you are into energy, then you're definitely going to love this one. If this is something new to you and it seems a little like woo-woo, don't worry, that's me too. That's, again, why I love studying and learning from other people, because it just helps me learn new things that are out there and gives me a different perspective. So hopefully it'll do the same for you. Before we jump in, here's what I want you to do. Hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, because I put out brand new episodes every week. I don't want you to miss out. We talk training, we talk news, we talk nutrition, we talk life experiences, and we talk to other people, again, to help us grow with our own knowledge and to gain different perspectives so that we can go out into the world and be better humans. So make sure you don't miss out. Hit the like, subscribe right now. And then the best thing that you can do to help grow the Fit Women's Weekly podcast is simply sharing it. So if you have friends or family that are also into improving their life through fitness, wellness, and just knowledge in general, then make sure that you take a screenshot and pass this podcast on to them or on your social media. And if you do share it on your social media, please make sure to tag me, Kendall Boyle Fitness, so that I can thank you personally. I love hearing from you and connecting with you, and that is one way that we can do it. But if you have questions or topics that you personally have, don't be afraid to slide into my DMs or email me at kendall@fitwomensweekly.com. All right, so now let's get into this episode with Greta. Well, Greta, thank you so much for being on the show. Explain to me a little bit of what actually is a transformational life coach that you call yourself. What does that mean? Because there's so many different titles for people. And when I saw transformational life coach, I was like, cool title. What is that?
Yeah. I'm so glad that you asked. It is the big difference. What I feel, women come to me, maybe they've spent years in therapy and they have a lot of self-awareness, and they know maybe what they struggle with, what their resistance is, what their sabotaging behaviors are, what's blocking them. Mm-hmm. And I really get to the root of what that is so they can create transformation instead of spinning their wheels, repeating the patterns. And even in therapy, like therapy is great. It creates this awareness and it can create change. But when we understand how the brain works, how our emotions work, how we create our reality, people want transformation. Right? Like they don't want just a place to talk about their problems.
Right. And I don't want to continue to sit in the same problems over and over again. It's kind of like, it sounds like a lot of times in the modern medical world where you can have a pill that kind of covers things up, or you can try to figure out the lifestyle changes to truly make it so you don't need those pills anymore.
Exactly. And so it's a little alternative in the sense that we take a look at where you're blocked or what the problems are, but we use that almost as fuel for the transformation. And even a better term would be transmutation of the energy or the emotions. So when we focus on a negative emotion that we're experiencing, whether it's shame, guilt, fear, anxiety, those emotions don't go away. We have to transform them. Like energy just doesn't go away. So it's the transmutation or the transformation into a better feeling space, a better emotion that's you're embodying. So it's true change because it's transformational. It seems to happen more rapidly than maybe years and years in therapy because we're focusing on the subconscious mind. We're linking our emotions. We're getting to the root causes of beliefs and, why we're stuck. So I'm glad you asked that because that's like a huge difference. There's so much talk about healing and inner child work, and it's a large part of what I do, but I'm not a therapist. I'm a life coach. And it gives me that opportunity to hold people's feet to the fire a little differently. And, really what they come to me and pay me for is change. And so I focus on specifically that change, not just in them feeling better. Feeling better is going to be a side effect of changing these deep core beliefs and identity and how we're responding and reacting to the world.
Just out of curiosity, how did you find your footing in this area of life? How did you decide this is what I'm going to do?
Well,
what's the backstory, the origin story?
The backstory is my life. So I'm living, breathing evidence, and I use myself as a human guinea pig for everything that I've done. I've been doing this in some way, shape, or form. I began my journey 15 years ago, and it began, you could say I began when I was born, but because our childhood, we are constantly getting the imprinting of who we are being as an adult, especially those ages from 0 to 7 is where we are a blank slate. We are getting programmed and imprinted with how relationships should be, how we should be in the world, what's acceptable, what is going to get us a feeling of safety, love, and security, acceptance. And we're filtering that, and we are programming ourselves for how we're going to be now in adulthood. So I'm 44, and my own journey was I was a product of divorced parents, as many of us were in the 80s, and just my life's journey. And it really began when I experienced, within 45 days, I experienced my husband leaving and cheating. I found out he was cheating on me. I've had a pituitary tumor diagnosis. And I lost my job all within 45 days.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, what the heck? How did I get here? Is this really my life? I thought I was doing all the things that I was raised to do. And I was like, how is this my life? And I was 65 pounds overweight at the time as well. And
just like a little side note, that would in of itself, all of that stuff coming on you would give you a legitimate excuse to be like, I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and be miserable. Look at all this stuff happening to me.
Be the
Woe
victim.
is me. Be the victim. Exactly.
Yeah. And maybe there were moments of that, but I didn't, it's not in me. I was an athlete growing up, and, it was like some of my programs served me quite well to not give up. Right. And so it was some serendipitous things, like the last day of my job, the boss it was a contract that we lost. So it wasn't like I left on bad terms, but he gave me a book, and the book opened my eyes to like another way of looking at life, and I began my journey. So
I have to know, what was the book?
Well, the book, it gets a lot of flack, but it was the stepping stone. And this is back before Instagram even existed. Like MySpace was still around when I got this book. It's called The Secret.
Of course.
Right? It was all about the law of attraction, but I went all in. And as my evolution began, I just got deeper and deeper, and I had to really search for people and teachers and mentors that were doing this. And then I got into the world of EFT tapping, an emotional freedom technique, and all the varieties of how that plays the emotions and the subconscious mind as I was trying to heal the tumor. So I was going down paths of, traditional Western medicine, and they were just saying, you're 31 and sorry, you're 180 pounds and depressed. This is just how it is. I'm 5'3", by the way, at 180 pounds. So that was a lot. And I was like, this is bull crap. Like, I don't have to accept this. And so I literally went cold turkey off of their MRIs and lab work, and I went holistic route and started to take my power back with my body. And EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique, was a huge game changer. So I literally taking my health and my well-being into my own hands, and this stuff was not mainstream.
No. Would you mind explaining a little bit more about what is EFT? What did that mean at the time?
Yeah. So it is based on Chinese acupressure, acupuncture, and you actually physically tap. And a lot of people may have seen it. You physically tap on meridian lines, acupressure, acupuncture points on the body, which are linked to organ systems. According to Chinese medicine, your meridians, the energy, life force chi that's moving through your body, as well as the organs in Chinese medicine hold emotions. And when we tap and we focus on, traumatic experiences and trauma, it doesn't have to be, it's all through the lens of the perceiver and who's experienced it. Something very traumatic for one person might not be for another person. So just anything that's creating anxiety, or for me, it was childhood events that were then playing out in adult relationships and my health and not being able to process the stress. So when we tap on these points on our body, we are releasing those organ systems and the energy and the emotions that are stored there. And it also focuses on the limbic system in the brain, which is your fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and the other F. And so reproduction. And so that area of the brain is just hardwired for survival. And so many of us, so many women are in this survival mode, this fight or flight, this stress, this burnout, this overwhelm. And I was as well. I had climbed the corporate ladder and was in a marriage that wasn't serving me or healthy. And then my health started to show. So EFT tapping and emotional freedom technique focuses on that limbic system, that part of the brain that is constantly sending messages down to the body to be in survival mode. And when we start to apply the technique and then do specific visualizations or focus on emotions, the emotions are attached to core subconscious beliefs. And that's about 90%.
I was just talking about this because of fear the other day, where I was trying to explain to people, like, fear is not a real thing, right? It's an emotion in our body that is generated. And sometimes you have to like have that realization of like, I'm afraid, but what am I afraid of? Because there's not actually anything there that's causing trouble.
Right, right. But the limbic system has sensed it like to a very high degree. And I say, imagine it being a satellite outside of your body and then sending those messages, and then it's scanning. Have we survived this? Is this dangerous? Have we survived this? Is this dangerous? And even in the term of like, it doesn't have to be the bear, right, jumping out at us, or anything that's just physical fear, but humiliation, threat, loss. We've just been through COVID, and there's so much fear pushed on us in the world, and then not being able to have a process to look at it like that, and be able to get to that root, like, what am I? What is the story, right? What is the story I'm telling myself in order to feel this way? And having a system and a process and a technique and just a way to look at life through those lenses is super freeing.
Wow. Yeah.
Super freeing. Yeah. So
then you decided you wanted to help other people through your own story?
Yes. Well, it didn't turn out. I mean, previously I owned a gym and I owned an Anytime Fitness franchise. I was starting to go into this like health and wellness area, and then still wasn't losing the weight doing all of the gym stuff, and this emotional component kept coming up. So I started to do Pilates. I got certified in Pilates and opened a Pilates studio. So I had some form of coaching and guiding people in this arena of health and wellness. And then I realized that it was this emotion inside of me that was the one thing I couldn't track, the one thing I couldn't measure, and the one thing that was blocking me, whether it was from sticking to a meal plan, sabotaging me of the beliefs I don't have time to cook, I'm too busy with work, I'm an entrepreneur, whatever stories I was telling myself, plus all of the baggage from the past, culminating, blocking me from truly who I am, who I was. And so it just led to, this is what's missing for a lot of women. They're doing it, they're showing up for themselves at the gym. I was working out 4 days with the trainer, but yet scale wasn't moving. I was getting bigger and bigger. It's the stress and the emotions that I was not looking at. So then when I started to see I lost over 65 pounds without stepping on a scale and scaling back my exercise. I mean, I lift and I work out in the gym 3 days a week now, but I had to rehabilitate my relationship with movement and body and energy and what that looked like to get the results that I needed, because I was my own worst enemy.
Mhm.
and not knowing, I could push through. I was great. I was the punisher. I would be super strict and
It sounds
follow
like
the
you're somebody who is all like when you decide on something, you are all in.
yeah. And even that, like realizing that there was shame and
Mhm.
fear, like you were talking about, that was the
Mhm.
motivating factor for those actions,
Mhm.
and how my results kept feeling the same way.
Right.
Even though I would get to a certain point in my body, it just didn't feel that way. So that is like, once I started realizing it all coming together, it was like, this, I want to help women
Mhm.
understand this component of their health and well-being, and have them create this type of freedom and just authentic alignment with themselves, right? That's what women, why we want to lose weight or why we want to have that body, is because we're just wanting that alignment with ourselves. We want
Right.
to feel what that feels like. And how do you bring that all together? And this was the missing component for me.
Mhm. It sounds very much like trying to establish a growth mindset. You
Mm,
ever read that book of like the growth
yes.
mindset? It sounds
Yes.
like
Yes.
the things that are holding you back sometimes are those beliefs in the back of our head that even though we're putting in all this work, we still don't truly believe in ourselves, right? But when
Yeah.
you actually start to believe in yourself, you start to believe in the positive world around you, then better things will happen because you're in this more growth mindset.
Absolutely. And using the blocks, what's blocking you from having the life you desire or the body you desire or whatever you're searching, the relationship you're desiring, using the resistance and the blocks and the negative emotions that come up actually as fuel. They're
Mhm.
like little doorways, portals
Mhm.
into what you really want. But so many times we just run the other way or
Sure.
give up. We don't walk through that door. And it's like, what happens? Like, if you feel empowered to have the skill set, which I think that this is what this is, like a growth
Mhm.
mindset is a skill set you develop, just
Right.
like you build a
Exactly.
muscle in the gym. How do I
Exactly.
have the courage to walk through that door?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
feel like, and I want to talk a lot about masculine versus feminine energy. And that's why I reached,
yeah.
because I was like, this is such a cool concept. But I'm
Yeah.
also curious to know, like, if someone's kind of already been struggling, they've talked with doctors and they just, they're kind of in this period of like, I want to find control. I want to find balance back in my life. What do the steps look like once they come to you? What are some kind of like the immediate, and I know it differs from one person to the next, but
Yeah.
are there any kind of blanket activities that people can do just to kind of start getting control of their emotions into a more stress-free
Mm-hmm.
position in life?
Mm-hmm. That's such a great question. I feel what most women are struggling with. We get through life, we maybe go to college, get the job, or then we realize, hey, maybe this isn't for us, or maybe you get into a marriage and start to have children and you're coming on the other side, your kids are self-sufficient. And what happens is so many women that I work with, typically in the upper 30s, over 40 age
Mm-hmm.
demographic, they're like, I don't even know myself and I don't even know what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first step is helping them get clarity, because they have so many voices going on in their head. Their parents' voices are still echoing in their mind, maybe a spouse, partner, an ex,
Mm-hmm.
their children's. And so the very first step is to figure out, what is it that I desire? And
Mm-hmm.
then identify, what are the emotions, the embodiment of that desire.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the thing that we think we're chasing, it's the feeling that we're always chasing. So that's the first step, is just to get crystal clear clarity and decide what it is that we want for ourselves. And a lot of people don't know how, or they don't have the courage, or they don't give themselves permission.
Mm-hmm.
And so step one is that. Step two would be identifying the feelings of that desire, and then noticing the discrepancy, the gap, the block.
Mm-hmm.
If that woman that I'm feeling is in the future has all these things, or looks a certain way, or behaves a certain way, feels this way, but I wake up every day feeling depressed, lethargic,
Mm-hmm.
beating myself up, shaming myself. But this woman over here feels powerful and love and joy and flow. There's a big gap we have to close. And what's causing that? So identifying where we want to be, who we want to be, and then how do we reprogram ourselves. And the emotional journey there would be, you have to know where you're going. You have to enter in the GPS destination,
Right.
right? And so finding out where it is we want to go and the one that's blocking us. And then the daily process of identifying again, oh, that's that emotion. And I have a tool that I can use to
Mhm.
calibrate that emotion, transmute that emotion, as you talked in the beginning, transform that emotion
Mhm.
over and over and over again. So I like to say, do a little a lot of the time. So
Right.
it could look different for every woman. And where, maybe there's some big boulders they have to move, maybe some big traumas that are blocking them, and they know that. And, we might focus on those first, or maybe it's just the little nagging things every day. And I don't feel like I'm worthy enough to put myself first before my kids or my husband.
Right.
And, it's just the daily upkeep of energy and emotion that they would do. So it really depends on the person, but that's the
Mhm.
big, the
Mhm.
big three steps in
Gotcha.
order to make that change. Yeah.
Do you feel like a lot of women kind of start to lose themselves, especially at our age? Actually just turned 40 this past weekend.
Happy
And
birthday.
thanks, still adjusting. But I feel like a lot of my friends and a lot of women around me and my clients, they kind of struggle with forgetting their true identity because they start to get used to the label of I'm a mother or I'm a
Mhm.
trainer or I'm a banker. They put
Oh, yeah.
certain labels on themselves and then they make that their entire personality. And then before they know it, they're like, I don't even remember who I truly am anymore.
Or I don't like this jacket. It doesn't fit me anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. And that's the incongruency a lot of times is what is killing women,
Hmm.
our spirit. And that's segueing to that masculine feminine energy, my journey. I wish I was I have a group coaching call that meets weekly, and I was just on it before our call, and I was like, I wish I could take my 13-year-old self or my 25-year-old self and teach her what I know now. And then I was like, could I
Yes.
even imagine what my 80-year-old self would be saying to me, right? Like what I'm going to be
Right.
saying. But, it's really that recognizing what is your heart's desire, not putting yourself in a box, and how do I reconnect to it? And
Hmm.
how do I live my life from my heart's desire and that alignment of feminine energy? So there's so many women that have just disconnected from that. And they're really seeking, like I said earlier, the embodiment of feminine energy through them, the life force, the creativity, the flow, the ease, right? That's who we
So,
are. Deep core, we know it.
right. So explain to me a little bit, and for the listeners, what exactly is masculine energy versus feminine energy? Because I know
Mhm.
people are like, oh, this is just feminine chit chat. And it's like, no, that's not what this is. So
Yeah.
let's dive a little bit deeper into what each of those are, because we all possess both of those.
Absolutely. Every human being on the planet, and they're both needed and both beautiful. And masculine energy within us, I say, in anything, masculine gives form and structure. So if you think of ballroom dancing, the male in the dance holds the frame,
Mhm.
right? And feminine creates interest and dynamic and flow and moves, is the movement around the masculine frame. So we have that within ourselves. And I say that the masculine energy is awareness of what is, who
Mhm.
you are, your beliefs about yourself, right? And what you believe to be true. And does that create a structure
Mhm.
that frees your feminine energy within you, creativity, expression, your true self to be birthed to the world? And it's this dynamic flow within yourself. So, healthy masculine energy within women would be women that can set structure for themselves, for their life, who can show up for themselves in a loving way, not punishing way, right? Finding that balance, have a strong sense of self. They feel that confidence, they know who they are. But then, are we being authentic? Are we expressing? Are we able to communicate true vulnerability to our partner, to our children, to our girlfriends, to our work, the work that we bring to the world? Are we truly expressing ourselves? And that masculine frame gives us the freedom to feel like the little girl that's dancing on the beach and doesn't care who's looking, right?
Mhm.
And that's what's within us, our creativity. So I like to use that, masculine energy is our go energy up in our head when we're thinking and problem solving. And it's beautiful. We have a beautiful, the beautiful ability, I think, as women too, to pivot from that energy. It doesn't mean that we need to dumb ourselves down or not have thoughts or not, be active in our careers or have desires to be entrepreneurs or anything like that. It's just understanding where we thrive and that a lot of women are craving that flow. So go energy up in the head, masculine, go, go, go,
Hmm.
think, solve, 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 do, do, do. Feminine energy, flow. And how does that feel? And relaxing and moving with fluidity, ease, grace within
Hmm.
yourself. And my challenge is always like, well, how do I bring more feminine to masculine activities?
Hmm.
And when do I need to be in my masculine? And it's a gift to be able to have the strong both and be able to pivot back and forth from both within. And that is what I help women do, is understanding when are you, when you're in your excess feminine or unhealed feminine, you're super emotional and you can't show up for yourself and you're the
Hmm.
victimhood, like you were saying in the beginning.
Hmm.
And emotions just overrun you and dictate your life and your decisions. And so it's this artful dance and balance of this energy within you.
Hmm.
And then it's externalized in the world, in your partnerships, relationships, and then in creation with the world and the universe and what you're attracting.
Do you feel like a lot of women tend to lose some of their feminine energy because of the world that we live in, where it's kind of like this woman
Mhm.
empowerment. We're always trying to make sure that we are strong, that we are capable, that we're always basically kind of trying to prove ourselves in a very, unfortunately, it's still a very male dominated world, but even females, we are competing oftentimes with other females. Have we
Yes.
gotten better over the past decades? Yes. But it still
Yes.
exists, right? We're trying to be like the
Yes.
alpha. And so do you feel like feminine energy is a lot of times pushed down and the masculine energy is a lot higher than it should be?
You absolutely nailed it. We choose to participate. I mean, business and careers require a lot of masculine energy. Not that there isn't feminine energy in those dynamics, but we, as women, we have been over the last 40 years placing ourselves in more of a masculine energy environment. And you nailed it with the competition.
Hmm.
Masculine energy. And it's actually healthy for masculine energy to compete, but not so much for the
But it's
feminine
exhausting.
energy. It's
Right.
exhausting. Yeah. Comparison, competition. And if you think about it, even in primal days, the women united
Right.
and they came together in a community and they raised the children and they connected and they shared resources and healed each other.
Right.
And, and I see that as the uprising that's happening. Like a lot of women are feeling the burnout and the stress of operating in their masculine. A lot of, like, for example, my childhood put me in my masculine for survival. I had to develop strong
Hmm.
masculine, and a lot of women do. I feel like it's a gift if I know
Right.
how to balance it with my feminine. I
Right.
didn't know how to for years, which I feel was creating the dis and sickness.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I know
And
that
so,
before like the Barbie movie came out for people our age and in their 30s and stuff too. Before the Barbie movie came out, kind of gave this like new perspective on like being a Barbie girl, right? I grew up
mm-hmm,
as a blonde, blue-eyed girl, and
mm-hmm,
it was almost you did not want to be dumbified to be a
mm-hmm.
dumb blonde, so to speak, or like
Right,
a
right.
Barbie. And so I felt
Mhm.
like even at a super young age, up through college and beyond, I was like, I have to prove myself that I'm smart and worthy of the things
Yes,
that I do.
yes. And that's what we get caught up in, that I'm not enoughness, some version of it. And yes, so oh hey, that female stuff, we don't have space. We don't have
Right.
space for you. Yeah. Don't let that don't let that out. Like you said, that's suppression. And that
Mhm.
is totally it for us to be able to feel safe, secure, and loved,
Mhm.
accepted. And that's what we do. And we have to disconnect from that feminine energy in order to survive. So I see a lot of women, whether it's through trauma or, more severe or less severe, it doesn't matter, and how they develop a strong masculine energy.
Mhm.
And hey, it helps us a lot. It does
Oh,
advance,
sure.
It does help you with getting through school and operating in a masculine world and having a successful career until it doesn't.
Right.
Like you said. And then you're
Right.
like, what do I do?
Right.
Yes.
I've honestly never really thought about it that much. I never thought that I'd be on my podcast saying, can you give us some tips on how to dig more into our feminine side, being
Yeah.
like somebody that works with women all the time. But do
Mhm.
you have some tips to help us kind of break free of that masculine side a little bit and dig more into that feminine side?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I have so many, and I just want to give the good ones. Again, it's really about the embodiment and what we are looking for. What I see working with hundreds of women and in my own personal journey, it's the disconnection from our physical being, wanting to be in our bodies. I work with women with emotional eating and binge eating and eating disorders, body dysmorphia. It's all disconnection. People that struggle with alcohol, wine, disconnection, social media, disconnection. So I feel that it is making our way. If you find yourself in that strong masculine, needing to control, needing to figure it out, anxiousness, burnout, overwhelm, doing it all, it's making the journey from your head into your heart. But how do you do that? It's
Right.
through embodiment, the body, feeling your body. And so getting a practice of you're already doing a lot of linear movement, right? Like with lifting weights with your followers and following a structured meal plan, maybe, or, everything we do is so linear. So bringing in some non-linear movement, just hip circles, dancing, feeling emotions in your body, maybe even just starting to say, how do I feel? Like, how many times do we even ask ourselves? And beginning a journaling process of just getting in touch with the feeling, just letting the feeling be, and or moving the feeling through your body in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, applying EFT tapping and other techniques work as well. But I feel something simple that every woman can do is just hip circles and moving their body in ways that are not linear and getting in their body. And if you do that, you start to shift your energy and start to feel your
Love that.
beingness. Yeah.
But even
Yeah.
I feel like being unlinear, not necessarily even with our bodies, but just in life. Like I know I am very open with this on my podcast. I suffer from anxiety and I'm also type A personality. I've had the eating disorder. I've had it all.
Yep.
So, and part of my personality is I'm a very, very structured person with my day. I wake up at the same time. I eat lunch at the same time. If something gets tossed into my day, my husband has to like calm me down because he's like, it's not a big deal. So I feel like also a good tip might be being spontaneous from time to time, like not having a structure in your day and just kind of letting
Yeah.
the day go a little bit.
Yeah. I love that. It was popular. Like, I want to go with the flow, but what time does the flow show up?
That would be me.
What time and
As long as it's
feel
on my schedule, we're good to go.
yeah. And that's where you're just trying to massage
Right.
that, you express, I understand this. There's two ends of the spectrum, the punisher and the pacifist. Okay. Excess feminine, pacifist. I'm all in my emotions, no control, no structure. The punisher is over here like drill sergeant. This is what we do. And you find that there's fear, like you were talking about, or some belief, shame, guilt that's driving that voice that's not you. Because somewhere in the middle is the peacemaker that we're striving for. So for somebody like that, yes, spontaneity, but that could feel like death to you, right? That could totally take you into an anxiety tailspin.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, can you talk to that part of you in a loving way that's freaking out about something not being controlled or not being structured? Can you provide love and nurturing to the fear, to the thought in the mind that wants to get caught up and obsessed? So it's like massaging it gently, like what would a loving mother do to their child, right? Like,
right.
I got you. You're doing a great job. It's that radical acceptance and that warmth that you give to yourself. So I feel that might be even, I mean, spontaneity is great. If you're there and you can do it, but if you're going from that rigidity or that structure and you want to be more spontaneous, like quitting work an hour earlier, might feel like, oh my gosh, when's the
Right.
shoe? When the shoe gonna get me? And it's like, oh, that voice. Can you be
Hmm.
kind to that voice? Can you say,
Right.
I love you? But bringing that soft nurturing into, so then you're opening yourself up to be more childlike. And that's another thing. Play if you are in doubt. Like if you can't be spontaneous and book a trip, you know, can you go play? Can you go play a game? Can you get into your childlike self? And that's another way to be able to slip into that creative life force energy.
I love that. Absolutely love it. I am going to work on it more. My big thing was Friday, like I said, this weekend was my birthday, so I took Friday off to go trail running here.
Mhm.
And I was sharing it with my clients, and I even made a story that like the whole time I was on my way to this trail, I kept going, but I could be doing this, I could be doing this, I should be doing this. And in my head, I
Ah,
just was like, you only turn 40 once, even if it wasn't your 40th birthday, you deserve to have a day off like everybody else does. It's going to
yeah.
be fine. And you know, you kind of like face that fear and do it anyways. That's what I always tell myself. Take a
Yeah.
deep breath, face the fear, do it anyways. And 10 out of 10 times, I always finish going, oh my God, that was so great. I need to do it more often.
I know. And it's differentiating that voice in your head and
Right,
being able to have that. You were able to talk yourself off the ledge,
right.
right? And understanding like when you prioritize, like I said, what is it that I want to experience? When you make decisions based on, I want more joy, I want more fun, I
Hmm.
want more spontaneity. Well, can you bring it back through that filter of
Right.
like, I accept that I'm freaking out right now, that I am shoulding all over myself, right? I
Right.
accept that. And then I love that part of me that wants to push ahead. I love the part of me that thinks I should be more productive. And in that moment, you realize it's a part of you. There's
Right.
a Japanese art called kintsugi, and it's golden repair for pottery. And it's like we're all shattered, we're all pieces, fragments, but they put the pottery back together with gold.
Oh,
And so
wow.
the repaired piece actually becomes more valuable than the original piece because
Hmm.
the gold infusion. And so if you see that part of you that wants to should on you and you say, I see you, I hear you,
Hmm.
I love you. Come back in. I got you. Like a best friend, right?
Right.
You're loving that part back in that nervous system. You can see that part. Like, why was that part created? In that moment when you do that, you're like, oh, I remember. I was a little girl. And
Hmm.
if I wasn't productive, if I wasn't getting straight A's, or I was going to be the dumb blonde,
Right.
right?
Yep.
I better be doing something that makes me feel productive, feel intelligent, whatever your story is.
Right.
And in that moment, when you see that that's that voice, you're getting reprogramming. You're getting a new experience. Your body is saying, hey, we're not dying.
Right. And
There's
you're becoming
actually,
aware. You're becoming conscious of your
yeah.
decisions. Yeah, for
And
sure.
there's the transmutation then happens. You took
Hmm.
that shame and guilt. Let's say guilt. So
Hmm.
many women resonate with guilt, right?
Right. This is why I'm sharing the story because I had so many people responding to me, being like, oh my God, I'm the same way.
Yes, it's like all of our inner voices sound the same.
Right.
That guilt. And it's like you just turn that guilt into love, into
Hmm.
acceptance in that moment. You did that.
Yeah.
And like you said, and then you walk through the door, like we said, that
Mhm.
portal, and you experience it. Now your brain got new feedback. Hey, we're safe to do that. Guess what? Next time you're faced with that, you can remember, your body is remembering, and it's going to be easier. And then that starts to become your life. You start vibrating into that acceptance and more of that. Yeah, I can accept more of that.
Mhm.
The world didn't end. My business didn't crash, you know?
Exactly.
And yeah, and it's getting that positive feedback to where you feel more encouraged to take that action over and over again.
I love it. Well, listen, Greta, I know that we were coming close, but where can more people find you, get more information, learn how they
Yeah.
can work with you? What are all the deets?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram. I feel like that's where the best information is. And I have a link. You can click the link to book a clarity call with me and we can have a quick chat. And obviously you can consume some of my content. I give great tips.
You do
And
give great tips. Your Facebook is loaded with awesome information.
yeah. And Facebook, you can reach out to me via my email. It's greta@gretazukoff.com. Send me a message and I'd love to connect with anyone, even any question. I'd love to talk about it. So reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. So
All right,
much
you guys,
fun.
go follow Greta. She's got some awesome information. Her reels are top notch. I walked away being like, just so positive because you just elude positivity. Your aura is amazing. And so I knew that I had to have you on the show. So thank you so much.
Likewise, we attracted each other. I
That's
feel
right.
so honored. Thank you.
Yeah. So this episode will be up on, I think, next Wednesday.
Fun.
Yeah. I try not to keep things in my like stack for too long. I like to get them out in real time. So it should
I guess that about you since you revealed you like structure.
And you being who you are, I'm sure you now know way too much about me.
No, it's beautiful. Like structure sets you free. Like I learned that myself. Like I spent years fighting structure and it wasn't until I embraced it. I was like, I want freedom. You know? In order to get freedom, you have to have structure.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I'm going to dinner with family tonight. We have family from out of town. And I'm like looking at my husband going like, but normally Wednesday nights we do this and we do this. And he's like, it's fine. Like it's going to be fine. Like
Yeah.
throw us off. We're not supposed to go out during the week. This is a Friday activity.
Throwing us off.
That's right. It'll be fine. The world will not fall apart, like you said.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much. So what do you guys think of that? She's a really interesting woman, right? I feel like we could sit down and talk all day long. And what I actually love is that she is in my state. I don't meet a lot of people that are in South Carolina. So that was really cool. I'd love to meet up with her, have a cup of coffee, go on a hike, and continue this conversation. If you guys loved it as much as I did, please do me a favor. Hit the like button. If you haven't already, remember I asked you at the beginning, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast right now because I will put out a brand new episode every week. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, a brand new podcast comes out weekly here. But if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, I put out longer episodes every Wednesday and then a shorter, more personal coffee chat podcast every single Friday where I will answer your specific questions. So if you have a question or a topic that you want covered, make sure that you ask it either in the questions or you can slide into my DMs, Kendall Boyle Fitness, or email me, Kendall@fitwomensweekly.com. And Kendall is Kindal. All right, you guys, go have yourself a beautiful day. Put out the energy that you want other people to absorb off of you, that you want off of other people, and continue to live your best freaking life and go have a beautiful day because you're beautiful. Oh, I should say too, I had an awesome run this morning. And so I tell you guys every week, I want to get into sharing workouts with y'all. And sometimes I do it. Sometimes I don't. Just kind of depends on what the topic is, what's going on. But this morning I knocked out my running training, which once a week, every Tuesday morning, I do an interval training run. Today was 3 minutes fast, 1 minute of walking recovery, and I did that for 15 rounds. It got pretty spicy at the end. I was like, oh my God, this is got to be over soon, right? I did not want to do it going into it, but I'm so proud of myself for finishing it up. So if you are somebody who is working on their cardiovascular health, and if you are trying to go a little bit faster, you're just kind of doing steady state runs every single time you run. Steady state runs are great. That is going to improve your cardiovascular health, but you're also going to improve your speed and your actual running fitness if you incorporate a speed workout once a week, AKA some interval training in there. And so you don't have to go for 15 rounds. That's pretty long. That was an hour. But even if you just do 5 rounds of 3 minutes on, 1 minute recovery, it can do a lot for you. And that's a great starting point. But I've been doing it now. This is my 4th week getting back into speed work. And I wake up and I go, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do it today. And then I hit my timer and I just go, and by the time it's done, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself for knocking it out. So that's the interval work that I'm doing right now. And then this weekend, I'm actually doing my first ever team CrossFit competition. And so this week, my workouts are all about trying to train and practice the workouts that are involved in that competition. But I'll give a full recap of that on next week's podcast. So be on the lookout. So make sure that you're following and you're subscribed so that you don't miss out on the big old recap of what happens this weekend. I'm excited. All right, you guys. Mwah, mwah. Bye.